Do you ever feel like no matter how hard you work, you're stuck in the same spot? The harder you push, the less it feels like you're getting ahead. It's exhausting, frustrating, and it makes you wonder if you'll ever win the day. Every task feels urgent, but the real win seems out of reach. Why does it feel like no matter what you do, you're not making real progress? Well, that changes today. I'm thrilled to have Baiju Solanki with us. He's an award-winning entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, CEO of EnSpirit Global, and he's helped thousands of leaders go from feeling overwhelmed to consistently winning that day. He's transformed businesses, taught leaders how to work fast without burning out, and he's here to share his secrets. So in today's episode, we'll dive into his strategies for setting up your day for success, working fast without the chaos, and breaking through those barriers that are holding you back. Welcome to De-Stress Your Business, the podcast where we show you how to get incredible results in your business without constant stress. I'm Alexis Kingsbury, a serial entrepreneur and founder at AirManual, and I'm joined by the incredible Baiju Solanki. Welcome to the podcast, Baiju.
Alexis, thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be here. And thank you so much for that fantastic intro. I must lift that for other podcasts. Really great.
Well, yeah. So I'll start selling these.
Yeah, exactly. No, I appreciate it. I was wondering who you're talking about then, but no, it's all good.
So basically, you've had an incredible career, and you're particularly blending psychology with leadership. What first drew you to this path, and how's it shaped the way that you help leaders to win the day?
Well, what drew me to this path, I'm not a natural entrepreneur. I wasn't one of these kids who was selling crisps in the playground and stuff. You know, my background, Asian background, is all very much about going to uni, education, getting a professional career. So I went on this path of university, which I didn't do very well in, and started a maths, stats, computing degree because I thought maths, numbers, accounting, it must be related. Very, very quickly, soon found out wasn't in my float, but didn't know what to do. But fortunately, I was in the library. Remember the libraries where we actually went and read some books and did some notes?
Not that young.
I know. Yeah. And yeah, we had libraries and there was a book there, nothing related to what I was doing. Picked it up, started reading it, and I couldn't put it down. It's the first book I read of my own accord, and it was a book on body language by Alan Pease, who's like the godfather of body language. And I thought, this is fascinating. What you can start to understand how people think and behave just by their body gestures. And it just took me down this rabbit hole of discovering psychology. So I thought, this is what I want to do. And I literally, within a few days, went to my tutor and said, I want to transfer. Long and the short of it, I finished an HND and then I transferred on to do a psychology degree. So that's what I did, a degree in psychology. And then my first proper job, after uni and all the rest of it, was to be a psychology lecturer. And so I did that and then I specialized in sports psychology. So I did the master's in sports psychology. And so that was my entry into the world of performance and sport and all the rest of it and psychology. So I taught for a number of years and I had a young family. I wanted to do sports psychology, but this is back in 98, 99, where even then psychology, only the British Olympic team and I think the British tennis, all tennis club had official psychologists. No other sporting entity. They had physiotherapists and biomechanics and all the rest of it, but psychology is still a very pseudoscience. It's tough to get into. Young family, I thought, I didn't want to teach FE anymore. So I got a sales job, a corporate job. And I thought, let me just stay there for 6 months and then I'll park it. Started getting some good deals. It was basically selling marketing packages for universities around the world to recruit students, international students. So I thought, let me do that for a few. Then I got some deals, earned some money. I thought, you know what? Let me stay for a little bit. I'm sure it will go pear-shaped, and then I'll go do my sports psychology. I ended up being there for 9 years. Traveled around the world, earned a lot of money, had a young family. So it was easy not to follow my dream because I was getting immediate rewards of money, cash, and travel. But then it come to a head in 2006. I was on a business trip to New York, about to close a big deal, and I closed it, earned silly money. I remember this is when we had to fax our order over to prove that we got the order. Fax it to London. Oh, well done. Sat on my hotel room for about five seconds, felt really good, and I felt really empty. For why? I've earned a lot of money. I've achieved in this business. Any more higher would be equity. Why am I feeling that? It's because I wasn't following my dream. So the plane from New York to London, I wrote down all the reasons why I'm not following my dream. They're all rubbish, bullshit reasons, apart from one, the security of keeping my family okay without jumping from the frying pan to the fire. So then I entered the world of property to do some deals. And 2007, October the 14th, I closed a property deal, which meant that I had no more excuses, and I left and started my coaching and training career or business. And that was it.
Wow, incredible journey. And we should explain for younger listeners that a fax machine is a device where essentially you could send an email, but in printed form.
In printed form, yeah.
And I should explain. So
All right.
email is like WhatsApp, except you can send like a letter.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I love that because like one of the things that's always struck me, in Baiju and I've known each other for a while and got to collaborate on some various stuff. Like one of the things that I always love from chatting to Baiju and so on, we often, whenever we meet, like we'll go off topic for like 45 minutes and then go, right, we've got 15 minutes to get some actual work done. But your energy, like, and your passion and that clarity of what needs to happen then carries it through. Like you get so much work done. And for the purposes of this episode, we're talking about sort of winning the day and that challenge for a lot of people of how do I make sure that I'm actually making progress towards, what I really want in my life, which is what you're talking about as part of your journey. What does that look like for a business leader who perhaps feels like they're balancing so much?
Yeah. It comes back to, and I talk about context a lot, context that we live our life. So when we're in a corporate world, when we're working for someone, is that you've been in the corporate world, same as me, right? Yeah. And there's a percentage of people who are in the corporate world because that intentionally, it was their path. They did this, they did X. But there's a lot of people just through sliding all moments, not knowing what to do, the lowest hanging fruit, opportunity because it seemed good now, but it's not really their dream. They end up in a place where, what am I doing this job for? They're good at it. They might be earning good money, but it doesn't float their boat, right? So then what happens is they have this tendency of doing what they need to do to ensure they get paid on the 28th of the month, right? And most people are sort of to-do lists, getting busy, going to meetings. So they do the thing so they ensure they keep their job. So they get the bonus. So they get the promotion. So they get their thing. But as you're an entrepreneur, so as me, and so does people listening as entrepreneurs, is the journey and doing the thing is as important as the destination, if not more important. It's like they say, if you love what you do, what you love, it doesn't feel like work. When it feels like work, what's the only goal? I get paid. That's the reward. As long as I get paid, I'm all right. Right? Whereas in this world, of course, we want to earn a lot of money, but if we had to wait to make sure we get rewarded on the 28th, we'd be waiting a long time. So then we say, okay, we need to live a life whereby right now I'm benefiting to ensure I get what I need in the future. So my first protocol is the context you're living your life from the position of what you want or who you want to be, right? So if you wanting things is great. Cars, houses, relationships, lots of money, great. It's like my background in sports psychology. So let me give you an idea of how it works in sport. In sport, there's a clear distinction and we know what success looks like, right? So for example, in football, it's more goals. In rugby, more points. In golf, fewer shots. Cricket, more runs and wickets. So when they're in the changing room and discussing how, the idea of how to win the game, they're not sitting there saying, what do we need to do, guys? Oh, we've got to score more goals. Well, no shit, Sherlock. We know that. What they talk about is that's a given. So let's forget about that now. It's now about the game plan. Are we playing 3-4-2? Are we playing, high line? Are we doing whatever? In rugby, what are we doing? Are we doing runners round or whatever it may be? They talk about the game plan. But in business and life, is the context you're working from where we know what we're aiming for right now, who do we need to be? Whereas if you don't know what you're aiming for, you just get up and, well, I'm really busy. I've got to do that to do this. Got to ring that person. Got to ring. But what for? Well, because it's, that's what I do. I've got to earn the money. Got to get the deal over the line. But what for? Oh, well, they haven't got the North Star sorted out. So for me, do you know what success looks like, right? Overall. So there's 3 stages. The big picture out there, the North Star. Do you know what success looks like? Yeah, I want to have £10 million in the bank. I want a house in this country. I want my children to be like this. And that's the big picture. The next part of it is, okay, what's the life I want to create that allows me to do that, right? Oh, okay, right. I want to have a couple of businesses. I want to have this high-powered job. I want to be able to work 4 days a week. So there's the sort of the environment you need to create to get the big picture. Then you track it back to today. We live in a place now, we're very fortunate. We've got a natural cut-off point when we go to sleep and a natural opening when we wake up, right? So there's a natural reset. So for me, if you can create a life where you win every day, the odds are you're going to win the week, you win the month, you win the year, you win your life, right? So break it down to that, right? So then we talk about, why do people not do that? Because they get busy. How many times have you, Alexis, woke up in the day, or people, is they've got a to-do list and they don't get what they wanted to get done. They got stuff done, but they don't get what they wanted to get done. And they feel a sense of, they don't feel fulfilled, unfulfilled, but they've got stuff done, correct? So then you think you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
So most people out there set themselves up for failure because they get busy, they don't know what they're aiming for, they don't know what success looks like, and they get stuff done and they live for the weekend. And that's it. So that's the premise. So the context I'm coming from is, who are you being at any given moment? And ask yourself that question. So you got children?
Yes, yeah. 2, age 8 and 10. And yeah, as regular listeners to this podcast will know, a big part of everything I do with my business and so on. And so I get to spend lots of time.
My children are adults. I'm sure people listening got children. So we've all been in a scenario. We've had a busy day. I'll come to the word busy. We come home and all our children want is our presence and our time. And children, if you give them 20 minutes of complete dedication, they don't need you for 4 hours. But we don't be present there. So who are we being as a parent when our child is asking us something and we're like, oh, I'm too busy on the phone, or I'm eating my dinner? So who are you being as a dad or a mother? Who are you being as a leader? Am I being someone that requires me to listen at this point? Am I being someone that needs someone to give clear instruction? And am I being someone that needs to be accountable on my actions? Or am I just getting busy doing the thing because I'm looking for the want? So the first thing is, the context you live your life in each day is imperative. I lost a lot of weight a few years ago, Alexis, right? And before that, did I go gym? Yes. But did I eat healthily? Occasionally. Before I had this mindset switch, I was someone saying, do you know what? I'm so busy. I haven't got time to go gym. I wish I could eat healthy, but what do you expect? I've got a meeting at 3:00, then I've got to get a train. I have to grab something on the way. What can I do? So the context I'm living my life was, I'm busy. I've got too much to do those things. When I had this switch around, my health was most important. I am now a gym goer. It's non-negotiable, right? So it's not a question of, so that comes first. The health and the nutrition that for me, that comes first. So how to avoid getting busy and win the day is change the context you live in your life. That's number one. That's stage one. That's what I would say. And then it's about knowing what success looks like. So do you know what success looks like every single day? And then we have a formula around how we can make that work.
Nice. I think there's so much to unpack there that I absolutely love, because I think if I take firstly that North Star piece, like getting clear, and it reminds me actually of a podcast interview way back, I can't remember which episode number it was, but it was with Will Polston, where we talked specifically about like getting clear on that North Star. And we just went really deep on how do you get clear on that? Because I think you've talked about how important it is. And that requires thought, right? Like when you talked about whether it's the house, the 10 million, the whatever, but actually really getting to grips with what matters is a hard critical thinking exercise that requires reflection and time, right? Because to some extent, if you're going, oh, and it's a car and it's this, it's like, that's the flippant stuff. Like that's your ego talking, whatever. Let's get real, because otherwise you buy the car and you go, okay, yeah, it does nothing for me. Exactly. Whereas, for example, I've talked about how we bought a motorhome back in April, but it wasn't about like we wanted a motorhome and it wasn't the state symbol thing. It's the time that we'll then spend together as a family. It's the fact that over a year period, we worked out that we'll be using it as a family for 12 weeks out of a year. And it's that clarity, as you say, of having that clarity of what do you actually want? And it's interesting when you talk about, for you, it was health went number one. And therefore, when you then reverse engineered back to the day, what does that look like? It's like, right, non-negotiable as I'm in the gym. For me, I've always struggled with that a bit, because I've had friends, family members, etc., who are really like certain ones that are really into their fitness and so on. So it almost seems to come easy to them. And I've always felt like, I'd struggle to justify the 4-hour runs that you're going for like 3 times a week as preparation for the marathon, because I want to be with the family. And it helped me when I got clear about actually what's that priority order, that then I just worked out how to make the exercise work as part of that. And so for me, it's like, okay, it's this amount of time at this particular time when the kids are all still in bed and therefore no one cares how I'm spending my time and they're not available anyway. And it's going to set up the rest of my day. And that's how I set myself up for the day. And I think I really like how, as you say, you're kind of working backwards from the what matters to you and therefore what are those goals and therefore how do you need to show up? What does each day need to look like? So that you can then show up in that different thing. I talked a bit about it in an episode I did a few episodes ago I talked about being a mental energy athlete and how just thinking about that has completely changed my attitude to a lot of the things you're talking about. To bring this to life even more for us, can you perhaps... Oh, hang on. I don't know why I'm getting an alarm. Sorry about that, Baiju. There we go. So to bring that to life for us even more, can you perhaps use an example of, because you've worked with countless leaders, like, can you give an example of a particular business leader in which working with them, they've completely transformed their day-to-day approach and the results that they then saw?
Yeah, so working with this individual who runs a mortgage company, they got like 20 brokers, some are self-employed, some are sort of under the books and all the rest of it. And he was running it, and it was getting so consumed with the day-to-day operation stuff, and it was very, very difficult to step away and work on the business. So then we say, okay, when we wake up in the day, who do you want to be here? I want to be someone who's inspirational in the business and gives people direction and gives people and we started analyzing, do these individuals know what their jobs are? Yeah, they do. They're intelligent, they're grown up, they're mature individuals. Right. Is where do they need direction? Do they need to be told what to do? Not necessarily, but do they understand the context of their goals in your goals? Because, what do you mean? Because you've got goals for the month, right, in terms of hitting targets, all the rest of it, and where you want to be. What's their role in delivering that? And there was 3 parts of it. One, their actual numbers, how many mortgages they're closed and all the rest of it. But that was all determined on activity. How many times are they ringing their clients, following up? How many meetings they get booked in? So the only question he had to ask him is based on, then he asked them, what does success look like for you? And for some mortgage brokers, they need to make 20 calls to convert 1 lead. For others, 2 calls, 2 leads. So each person's activity based on success was different. So does he understand how to coach them? So he had to become someone that gives them inspiration to win their day. But he needs to understand what it means to win their day in the context. If each of their brokers won their day, the company would win. His role is to communicate to the team what winning in the company looks like. So this formula around winning the day is 2 parts. For me, life's a game, right? Life's a game. And when you think of any game, there's parameters. So in football, there's rules, offside rule. There's about the time frame, 90 minutes. And there's certain things in terms of what determines a foul or not. So in the context of those rules, if this is to win is more goals. So in life, the rules for us is life is made up of 3 games. The first game is the inner game, the mindset, right? What context you're coming from, which I've talked about. The second game is the game plan. So anything that you need to achieve, it has a game plan. Simple thing, in sales, your conversion rate is 50%. I want to make 10 sales, make 20 calls. It's a very simple formula, right? You want to travel somewhere. I want to get there in 3 hours. It's 100 miles. Okay, I need to leave at this time. There's a game plan for everything. In cooking, I want to cook a 3-course Michelin star meal. Right, got the ingredients, got the recipe, got the time scale. So there's a game plan. And then it's about, if I gave you a recipe for beef Wellington, I gave 100 other people recipe beef Wellington, same recipe, same ingredients, but all of you have a different context in terms of whether I feel I'm a good cook or not. Would all the results be the same? They wouldn't. They'd be different because the context you're coming from is your own confidence and stuff. And the third game is the outer game, is the actions, right? Is how consistent your actions. So if those 100 people, I said, right, every one of you 100 is, I want this level of beef Wellington, right? I'm going to come back to you in 90 days and that. So now they think, right, I want to win that £10,000. I've got to decide, okay, I can cook. I've got the instructions. So my outer game now is practice, practice, practice. So you've got a formula now to win the day in terms of winning the game. So how do you bring that into a day? How do you win the day? Is decide what success looks like. And for me, it's what are the 3 things that I have total control over that would mean I've won the day, right?
Mm.
Because winning the day is about making sure you never fail, but also ensuring that you don't set yourself up for failure. So I have a methodology of setting 3 micro goals every single day with my clients. So with the mortgage guy, the owner of that business, he had 3 micro goals. One goal was related to his personal care. The second micro goal was related to how he communicated with his team, and the third micro goal is how he set up feedback mechanisms that the team reported back to him in terms of results. Very simple,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if he got those 3 things, he would have a canvas to know where we are in terms of our movement success. You get that, right? But a micro goal, Alexis, has 3 specific criteria. Criteria number 1, it needs to be measurable, right? You need to know what success looks like. Number 2, it needs to be able to complete in 1 day. So you can't set a micro goal that means it will take you 3 days. That's too big a goal. So a micro goal might be one part of a bigger goal. The third criteria of a micro goal is the most important. You're totally in control. So if you're totally in control of everything that's available in relation to that goal, guess what? You're guaranteed to meet the goal. And there's 2 things that happen when you meet a goal. Number 1, you move the needle on the project, the task, whatever you're doing. The second part of meeting the goal, you just feel good. And when you feel good, you feel better, you can stretch yourself a bit more. And imagine if you set 3 micro goals on a Monday, you met them. 3 micro goals on a Tuesday, you met them. 3 micro goals on a Wednesday, you met them. Thursday, you're thinking, Jesus, I've had a wicked week. I've got stuff done, moved the needle a bit. Your then level of confidence, enthusiasm on the Thursday is going to be even greater. As opposed to, I did a lot of stuff on Monday, but I didn't feel I've achieved what I wanted. I had 3 things to do on Tuesday, didn't get them done because so-and-so didn't send me the report. I didn't get that call back because you're relying on things outside your control. Wednesday, oh my God, the kids, something happened and I couldn't do it. You're sitting there Thursday thinking, I'm more than halfway the week, I've not achieved much. I don't feel great. So it's about setting yourself up for success by setting those 3 micro goals.
Nice. And I want to dive into that or explore it even further, because I think I 100% buy into setting, from going back right to the back, like from your North Star, working out who you need to be. And I like that point around who do you need to be is a really useful exercise to really make it, frankly, easier to achieve your goals, because rather than trying to work out the 100 things that need to happen so that you're the, whatever you've set your goal as, best-selling author or whatever, instead it's like, who do you need to be? How do you need to show up? Which I think is powerful. And then I like the idea of, then taking the goals, the steps along the way, turn that into micro goals, which is interesting. You kind of call them micro goals rather than essentially just your to-do list or your actions list, because I guess you're using that to be clear that this isn't just things that you're on your list that you want to get done. These are things that directly come from the goals that contribute to your North Star and all that kind of stuff, right?
But also, each day you say the 3 things that for me would mean I've won the day. And what I try and do is, if possible, try and get it done so it's done by midday or 1 o'clock. So even if the rest of the afternoon goes a bit of a shit show or nothing happens, you've won the day already. You're ahead of the game already. And it's about capacity as well. Think about this, right? A lot of people think they're busy, not because of confidence or competence, but because of capacity. Is they try and do too much in too little time because they can't say no, or they can't manage their expectations with their peers and their team. So for me, it's about having more space in the day, doing more in less time, but making sure your capacity is managed. Because when you manage your capacity, it impacts your confidence in a positive way, as opposed to saying, if I've got an hour spare, I've got to fill it with activity. No, what are the 3 most pertinent things right today? That means I win the day. And that's it.
Cool. Okay, cool. Makes sense. To really stress test this approach, if you take someone like me who's autistic, ADHD, and as a result struggles with getting overwhelmed by having lots of things, constantly task switching, find it hard generally to focus on particular things, and will heavily procrastinate. And so I have various coping mechanisms to help me, including essentially my own equivalent of micro goals and so on. However, it's not uncommon that the time can get away from me, and particularly if I've not put myself in a good place. You mentioned that one of the things about setting the micro goals is you want to set yourself up so that you can't fail. What about for someone who they've set micro goals, they've given themselves some time, maybe they've even put that 3 hours in the diary to, as Brian Tracy would call it, eat that frog, to take on the biggest, nastiest thing that you just need to get done. and you try and you're like, I'm struggling, and you go make a cup of tea, and then you try and come back to it and you still can't do it, and then you spot an email, oh, actually that email needs urgent response. I forgot that they need a contract by, oh, what's that, lunchtime? They need a contract by lunchtime. So they quickly, oh, and actually the contract I had before wasn't quite the right one, so I need to change that. And oh, hang on, I've just had a phone call about something and I've seen in the Slack channel, and so on. And that, I mean, apart from giving an insight into how my brain works at every moment of every fucking day, there are elements of that aren't uncommon just generally for people, right? That their day gets disrupted and distracted, sometimes because of bad management of it, sometimes because of the nature of the day, like suddenly getting a call from an employee who says, I'm really sorry, but I'm handing in my notice. And so things need to change. How do you recommend that someone then manages and deals with that massive grey ball of mess I've just thrown over to you?
Yeah. So there's a little mindset hack. Is nobody's doing anything to you. Nothing's happening to you. It's happening because it's happening. Is then your meaning and interpretation to it is going to determine how you respond. Right. So that employee saying I'm leaving, okay, it impacts you. And this goes back to taking care of myself. It comes down to self. If you know that your brain goes there, give yourself space. And this goes back to capacity, right? Because guess what? Life's going to happen. Shit's going to come to you every single day. Those people who are more successful, it doesn't mean they've got no shit coming to them. They just got better coping mechanisms. So your level of self-awareness, Alexis, the fact that you're ADHD and autism around that, is that self-awareness, you say, right, okay, what are certain things are non-negotiable? And that could be for you space. It could be for you never have back-to-back meetings. It could be for you somehow how they manage their diary, right? So if the day goes great and nothing happens, happy days, you've got enough space. But if things go to shit, you're not setting yourself up for a complete disaster. And also allowing yourself to be kind to yourself is we underestimate what we can do over a longer space of time and overestimate what we can do in a short space of time. So even if you do little bit, but often, as opposed to trying to volumize it, you get much more done. It's a compound impact of it, as opposed to pausing, and then starting. And little and often. So if the day is going to shit, pause, breathe, take a step back, right? Who do I need to be in this situation? What's the most impactful thing? And it might be close the computer, go for a walk, reset, and then come back. And not have this, well, I can't afford to go an hour. Look, there's going to be times where that email has to go over. Is being in communication then. Sometimes being in communication, great. I know I'll sort of get this over. In communication, there's a few things happen and manage people. And most times, people are very kind. People can sympathize with the honesty. They can sympathize with that. But and sometimes we create this. You know, I talk about the word busy, Alexis, right? I say to people, a lot of people say, oh, I'm really busy, really busy. I don't use the word. I refuse to use the word, and I don't acknowledge the word. Because for most people, let me ask you this. When you think of the word busy, what's the emotions that come with it?
Yeah, anxiety and worry and stress and rushing things and lack of control.
Yeah, and I would say 90%, 95% of people I speak to have those emotions. Some say, oh, no, I love it, success is getting things done, which is fine. But so then why use a word that encourages the emotions that you don't want to feel?
Yeah.
Just, you're not, right now, are you busy? Are you busy right now?
No, I'm present and having a great time in our conversation.
Yeah. And now, what is it, around 3 o'clock-ish, 2:45? Now, this morning, you might have had a meeting. You've had a Zoom call. You might have had to send an email. You might have done a report. You might have done another podcast. So you won't be doing things. And what busy looks like is you join all those activities, right? You're doing this podcast with me. And after me, you might have to do a reply to an email. You might be on another Zoom call. So you've got 3 more activities before you can rest for the day. So then you look at all those, I've had 10 things to do, been a really busy day. Just when you're on the Zoom call, do the Zoom call. When you have a meeting, have the meeting. When you're writing the email, write the email. So at any given moment, what does busy look like? It looks like how we add up the activities in our head as opposed to the thing. It doesn't mean anything.
Is there a term that you prefer, like engaged, or what is it that?
How you been? Busy? No, not really. Really? And now you're thinking, I do nothing. I said, I purposely choose to work 4 or 5 hours a day. And the reason I do that is this. Knowing I've given that as a non-negotiable for me is it makes me super focused in those hours, because I don't want to feel in the evening, oh, I didn't get that done. I feel guilty. I haven't returned that thing. So
True.
it gets rid of the procrastination because I get it done. I want to get it done.
That's really interesting, because one of the things I was thinking when I was sharing the stream of consciousness of the ADHD approach to trying to get tasks done, one of the things I was thinking about is that when you were then reflecting and saying, oh, well, perhaps you need more capacity and make more space for it. But funnily enough, sometimes I find the opposite is true. I find that if you give more capacity for it, actually the level of procrastination goes up. Whereas if I know that I've only got 15 minutes or only got 30 minutes, and then I've got to move on to something else,
Exactly.
actually I'm way more likely to be focused. And
Let-
so, like, I suppose what you're saying is by putting in the non-negotiables, by being clear about what you've got to get done, and as you said, like a micro goal that I can actually get done, and then making the appropriate amount of time for it and not allowing that to slip and so on, means that you can show up, run at it, and
we feel the time available. But also, let me give you a philosophical scenario. Who decided that 40 hours is the optimum time to have a full working week? Who decided that we split the time into the 7 compartments of 24 hours? Right? It's a man-made construct. The caveman didn't sit there and say, sorry, love, it's 6 o'clock. We ain't got no food, but I'm not going to go out and hunt. You do whatever needs to be done in that focused time and what's available. Let me give you a scenario. In the working world, 40 hours a week, 20 days holiday, a couple of weeks break in summer, all the rest of it. It's all very churned, right? And deadlines are missed. Stuff happens. You're an Olympian, right? Now, every 4 years, it's 6 months to the Olympics, I get injured. Head of Olympics, right? Can you move the games? Can you move I've got 6 weeks recovery. My event's on the Friday. Would you be okay? Because I spoke to the bike people. They can move their event 3 days before. Can you move my event 2 weeks later? Because I'll be at the optimum time, right? No. The thing is, you've got to be ready, right? And do the thing. Whereas, so instead of being so time focused about how much time we've got available, is actually what's the thing we want to create and achieve? What do we need to do? Right. So this goes back to, I do a lot of work around accountability, is employees want to be accountable based on their inputs. I've had 6 meetings. I've worked 40 hours a week. I've sent 20 emails. I've done this. Entrepreneurs, business owners should be having the conversation of being accountable on their outputs. Mm-hmm. I don't care whether you've worked 1 hour a week or 50 hours. What we discussed is we're looking to generate X amount of revenue, right? We're looking to speak to X number of people. So you're telling me, oh, no one picked up. I'm not interested. And that's why this freelance economy works really well, because you're saying, okay, I'm not paying you as, but I'm not paying you as outputs. And so winning the day is all about, for you, what's the output you're looking for that you have total control over that means you've won the day? So give you the gym example, right? And my output is doing those 8 sets to the best form. The output, whether my muscles increase, I lose weight, is only a direct consequence if I focus on the process, right? Trust in the process, right? And my job is to work the process and do it consistently. So take that in the working day, is every day I got to decide, what does winning today look like? And it could be a duvet day. So winning the day could be just what is Netflix, which is fine. But you get to decide each day how I win. Simple. Yeah. Right? And going into bed. And the odds are 80-20 rule. 80% of the time you will win if you have that philosophy.
Yeah.
You'll win.
I really like that. I think particularly I want to underline that point around what you want is that outcome, and being clear on the outcome is really important. But then you've got to be clear on what's the input, what's the process that needs to happen that's likely to then deliver that outcome.
Exactly.
And I think you made that point around employees, where of course what you want from them is the revenue. You want the new customers and so on. But actually, there's lots of things that they can't control in terms of that revenue, like, because they can't control your pricing, they can't control the nature of the product if they're, let's say, if they're a salesperson or whatever. and they may not even be able to control the sources of leads or whatever.
Exactly.
So as a result, you have to get clear on what does winning the day look like for them? What are the activities they need to have done so that they're likely then to deliver those results?
But what's really important there, Alexis, is the context. I'll give you an example. I was at a conference last week, and I was with some
you
colleagues.
still need to give them the context.
So I'll give you the context, right? So I was with colleagues last week, and a fellow colleague had some of his employees at this conference, right? And it was a 5-day thing, whatever. And their task was to speak to as many people and blah, 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 and all the rest of it, and then record the leads, all the rest of it. Third day in, and had a conversation. How's it been? It's really hard, very difficult to get talking to people because so many other competitors here and all the rest of it. So the context they're coming from is it's going to be hard because there's so many people out there, right? So I can't achieve my goal of getting X number. So the context they're coming from is, and then what happens, there's a real subconscious energy of a self-fulfilling prophecy. See, I told you it's going to be hard, and it's hard. I only spoke to 3 people today, right? So they're not, the context they're coming in from is to reinforce their belief this is hard, so that's why I couldn't get the leads. As opposed to the context coming from, do you know what? I'm going to make sure that I have X number of conversations. I'm going to speak to X number of people because they're going to know what we have is going to be life changing for them. They're going to be glad I spoke to them about our product or service. I'm doing them a favor. So the context you're coming from determines then the game plan and the action.
Nice. And it's interesting because I can see the more granular you get and more clear you get on what winning looks like what the activities that need to happen look like, the better outcomes. So for example, in that case of essentially salespeople who are at an event looking to get some conversations to turn to leads to eventually turn to sales, I've seen it. We've both spoken at many events where there are sponsors, partners, etc., who are paying to be there and have their stand there, and we'll have both seen them. Where are they? They're sat behind the table next to their stand. And then they'll complain about how they haven't had loads of conversations and there weren't as many people at the event as that they hoped and all those sorts of things. And then, when I'm talking to perhaps the organizer, or if one of those partners genuinely asks me for my thoughts on it and so on, I'll say, what do you see me doing? During the lunch break and so on. And they'll realize oh, they've not seen me have lunch. I've done my speaking slot, but then they've not seen me have lunch. Where am I? And I'm not sat in the room on my laptop as I see other people doing, and I'm not sat behind a table. I've gone up to people who are either sat down back in the audience or they've found a table or whatever, and I've gone and sat down with them and asked them about how they're doing with the day, what their biggest key takeaways have been, what are the big challenges that they're working on currently. And that's even if I'm not looking to sell, I'm just having those conversations. And I suppose, as you say, setting the context of firstly coming at it with a positive attitude and seeing it as part of your goals, but also having that clarity of not just, oh yes, the outcome is I want to have had 20 conversations or I want to come away with 10 leads. It's how do I need to show up? Who do I need to be? What do I need to be doing in terms of my activity?
Exactly.
So that then, as long as you're doing that, hypothetically, if you went and spoke to a load of people, but it turned out that none of them are the right contact and so on, you've still won the day because you did what you said you were going to do. And as a result, you've learned something, which is, probably don't sponsor that event next time because it's
maybe, yeah. But if you set up the thing, my goal today is just to have five attempts to have a conversation, right? You just do that. And then if the conversation leads to something, then fine. But your role is, what can you control? I can control going up to someone saying, opening gambit, how are you, this and that, whatever it may be. And not the goal isn't, I've got to get their proposal over to them or close the deal or do whatever. The goal is to open the conversation and see where that goes.
Love it. And just before we move on to some quickfire questions, I want to ask, if a leader could adopt just one habit to win the day, what would you recommend?
I reckon they should be clear on what they expect from their team, and do they know this? So what are they? Manage their expectations and manage their capacity. Are you maximizing the environment that they can perform at their best?
Love it. And when a leader or a team has a bad day, how can they bounce back from that?
It's not a question of bounce back. Is acknowledging what was the reason for the bad day? Was it something that you could have prevented? Did you set yourself up for failure? So know the reason why it was a bad day. Remember, a bad day only occurs because of a bad moment.
Yeah. And it was only one, and it's done, and then you've got a new day.
It's done. Yeah. So the bad moment occurs, and you stretch it along because their mind plays tricks in there. So first of all, what was the bad day? The bad day was because actually, do you know what? When you really go granular, you mentioned granular. I go granular. I didn't wake up early. So I was a bit groggy, so I reacted like this, and then it's a sort of a trail of things. So what was the reason for the bad day? Was it something that we could have controlled that prevented certain things, or was it so completely out of left field? Then you put your hands up. It is what it is. Then you say, okay, did we all respond in the way that our values, who we want to be in relation to our professionalism? Did we do it in that way? And that's
nice. Yeah, I really, really like that. Cool. We're going to dive into some quickfire questions. 1 sentence answers only, please. Number 1, what one thing causes most stress for you?
when I haven't been clear on what success looks like.
Are great leaders born that way or made?
They can be made with the right attitude.
What's your preference? Taking the time to make the right decision, or making a decision and then taking the time to make it right?
Interesting. My choice would be to make a decision and then trust in the process.
What book or podcast has been most pivotal for you in changing your life for the better?
Can I give 2 answers?
Sure.
1, the book I wrote myself, because that changed my life in relation to, not because of the content, because it made me realize the impact I could have in the world. And the other book, which is a great book called Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. And it's a book, it's about just what the difference between an amateur and professional in terms of the habits and behaviors.
Love that. Turning Pro. Cool. And what's one thing you want business leaders to take away from this episode?
That you're in control of how you win each day.
Love it. Fantastic. Great work, Baiju. Well, I'll make sure that in the show notes we've got links to your LinkedIn profile, your Instagram profile, your YouTube channel, also your website, which is baijusolanki.com, and also to your excellent books.
There's another link on scorecard, Change Your Game scorecard, which will help them determine, based on the free games, where they are in those free games.
Oh, nice. I will make sure that include that in the show notes as well. Is that changeyourgamescorecard.com?
Yes, changeyourgamescorecard.com and then changeyourgamebook.com.
Fantastic. We'll make sure that they're in the show notes. Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Baiju. You've been absolutely fantastic. To everyone else, thank you so much for listening. If you found this episode useful, and I'm sure you did, please do share it on social media. Tag me and Baiju in. We'd really appreciate it. But otherwise, until next time, have fun.
Thank you, Alexis.